left us. He forgot us. He don't remember us. He don't want us. He don't need us. He don't care about us. You don't appreciate us. He can do YouTube by himself. Sure. What's up, viewers? Another beautiful day. Hope your five senses work. Health and strength is good or excellent. Yep. Phone, tablet, yeah. YouTube. Gotta make it work. All right, what I got for you? Oh, this for you Linux users. Let's see what Linus Torvald is complaining about. Listen to this. Linus Torvald released Linux 6.17 RC3. Say it's a normal release. Linus Torvald has just announced the release of the Linux 6.17 RC3. The release timing was a bit more unusual this week due to Torvald travel schedule, but it still fits the usual Sunday afternoon schedule. The third release candidate, it is noted as being a larger than usual, which serves to balance out the tiny RC2. Says while the release is a bit larger than usual, Torvald said that it was well within the normal parameters and not outrageously so. Overall, this release is proceeding normally, which means it's more likely it will be out after the 7th release candidate. Say the diff stat, which shows the changes in this update, is described by Torvald as fairly normal this week. Approximately half of the changes are in drivers spread across various components, with Mellanox MFX5 drivers being standout areas. Others notable changes includes a new chunk of a added self-test and more Rust support. Then it says there are also random collections of fixes present in the architecture, code, file system, VMs, and core networking. It says here the Linux kernel development cycle sees 2-week merge windows. Let's see. This is what I hate about my phone. When I got a rhythm going, it has a tendency to flip on me. Now I got to sit here and wait for about a couple of seconds. Man, I tell you. See if I can get this back here. All right, where was I at before I was rudely interrupted here? Yeah, got you guys covered though. Got you guys covered. I got 2 Linux articles to go through here, but let me tackle them. So I can get this back here and get it finished. See, oh, where we at? Okay, that's okay. Linux turns 34. All right, we got that. That's coming up next in a minute. But let me get back to this here with Linus Torvald. Yeah, almost done though. Got you guys covered up. Let's see here. Where were we before we was interrupted? Let's see here. Where were we? Said something about files. Okay. Says here the Linux kernel development cycle sees 2 weeks merge window. It says there are new features are added, and then 7 to 8 weeks of release candidate, where the new features a made more stable. Some of the fixes we got this week include fixes for memory leaks in the PIDFS and IO. MMU. No, let's see it. I am muffed updates the SCSI subsystem, including support for Intel, Wildcat Lake security related fixes in libcrypto and IPv6, addition of Rust support in memory management, and fixes for various hardware such as USB and DRM drivers. And anything anything else here? And let's see here, what's this? Trying to get it here. Yeah, what's it? Think that's, wait a minute. Yeah. Okay, here we go. It says here, unlike Torvald's ended his announcement by stating that things seems fairly normal for this phase of the release cycle and that nothing stands out. He calls on the community to keep testing to ensure that everything is working properly by the time of the stable release in a little over 1 month from now. And that is that. So yeah, Linus Torvald up to his usual stuff. He's not complaining this time, but we know next time he will. But this is another update to the Linux kernel, so they're working on different things here, you know, as far as the kernel goes. Let's see what's they got. They got updates to DRM drivers, USB, memory management, IPv6, crypto. You got securities, Wildcat Lakes, yeah, subsystems, Intel support, yeah, Linux kernel. Yeah, another update to the Linux kernel, and fixes for memory leaks. Yeah, these developers, they work, man. So they're always improving the Linux kernel. Then there's, you know, architecture, code, file system, VMs, and core networking. Yeah, so and then I think the next Linux kernel release will be September. I think that's when it's gonna come out, September. So yeah, another update to the Linux kernel. Now there's one more article here, and this is Linux turning 34. I think Linux kernel turning 34. Let's see if I can pull this up here. And of course, Linus Torvald is doing this. Yeah. Let's see here. Linux turns 34 years old. Here's how it got started. It says, did you know that 34 years ago today, one of the most important software projects ever launched off the ground with a humble post in a news group on Usenet. That project was the Linux kernel, 21 years old. Linus Torvald said it was just a hobby and won't be a big or professional. How wrong he was, or that's what he wanted you to believe. Anyway, it says here Torvald started the Linux kernel as a personal hobby, but never intended for it to be professional. The initial project was started in April 1991, and by July 1991, he was working on user-level aspects like device drivers and a working hard disk. Other early milestones include porting Bash and GCC. He made the first source for version 0.01 available to a small group of users in September 1991. Interestingly enough, the earliest version of Linux, version 0.01, was just source code and not actually runnable. Torvald has said that it was released as a token gesture for those who were interested at the time. Another interesting detail is that the early versions of Linux was non-portable and were dependent on i386 features and GCC compiler. Notably, i386 support was cut off from the kernel in version 3.8, released in 2012. And then it says the Linux kernel finally became useful in October 1991 when version 0.02 was released. It was a significant step as the first usable version. With that said, it was still a hacker's kernel. Says plenty of the bugs and missing features like a floppy drive. However, it was able to successfully run important binaries such as bash, GCC, and GNU utilities. And then it says by version 0.11 released in December 1991, the system had improved with demand loading, code data sharing, better driver and support for various keyboards and graphics. It says here it was also a major milestone as it was the first to include the program MKFS, FSCK, and FDISK, making it no longer necessary to use Minix for setup. It was around the point when the Linux kernel evolved from a solo effort to a collaborative one, with the addition of new features, code by others such as PO6 jobs controlled by Titso. As more people began to learn about Linux, the first mailing list, Linux Activists, was created alongside Mirror's site for FTP, and then the community helped address a critical problem by needing to run the system with less memory. This led to Torvald to implement a disk paging. The initial copyright news on the kernel was quite interesting too. It was limited, but also restrictive because it didn't allow money to change hands. This was later changed with the launch of version 0.12 in January 1992. The kernel became very stable and began to spread faster. The version includes major corrections, VMs, page to disk, and job control, addressing key user needs. By this point, Linux was doing many things better than Minix, gaining significant interest. Following this, the version number jumped from 0.12 to 0.95. Then it says Linux has come on a long journey since these early release, with the third release candidate of Linux 6.17 arriving just yesterday. And it says, while Linux hasn't had much transaction on personal computing devices, hovering around 5% of the market share, it has had tremendous success in other areas. It's widespread on servers, powers most cloud infrastructure, run on most of the world's supercomputers. It is in many embedded devices, and it's the core of Android. Happy 34th birthday, Linux. Well, got to start from somewhere, you know. It started back in 91, and it grew. And when it grew, it created more jobs, meaning that you needed more developers. And then from 1991 to 2020, 2025, that's about what? Let's see what it says. Let's see what it says here. It says that's about what 34 years. And yeah, so that's 34 years of coding, developing, troubleshooting. Yeah, created a lot of jobs. You know, this article even talks about has 5% of the market share. Well, 5% is better than no percent. You know, so I mean that means it is still growing, still growing. You know, and with all these different distros, and I mean distro meaning OS, that helped it. And then it got into gaming, and then yeah, and now the Steam Deck is carrying the torch. So yeah, Linux has come a long way, but the community is active. The community is very active, and they're always communicating, talking, developing. And Linus Torvald does his usual rants. So yeah, Steam OS, Proton, they all the different pieces that builds up the Linux community. They're doing pretty good. So good for the Linux community. Keep going. That's what I say. But other than that, yeah, you guys are good. You're good for now. So I'll keep you in the loop on what's going on with Linux, YouTube wise. And
if you don't care what your coins are worth, don't use them.
Oh, stop it. Next, you'll hear from me next time. Anyway, talk to you next time. Peace. All right.